Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, now here I am continuing on with these Halloween movie reviews. And now here I am to review the other Casper prequel movie, with a, which is Casper Meets Wendy. So, yeah, this film was released the year after A Spirited Beginning was released. And, yeah, this film, it did receive a slightly better reception than A Spirited Beginning did, but it still really did not receive much love. I mean, this pretty much did like kind of have like the same. Still did like have a. It kind of did like get the same criticisms that A Spirited Beginning did, with like the effects looking worse and yeah, this is yeah, and just yeah, with the all the other like criticisms that A Spirited Beginning got. That's pretty much kind of like the criticisms that this movie received as well. Yeah, yeah. I remember as a kid, I actually did kind of like this film. I mean, I thought that it was like I did kind of like some of the things that this film did. I mean, yeah, I thought it was interesting that they brought in like a Wendy the Good Little Witch for this film. Yeah, Wendy the Good Little Witch was like another character created by Harvey Comics, which was also the company that made Casper. And so and really just Wendy the Witch, she didn't really like receive like a lot of recognition. Like really just how often do you really hear people really talking about Wendy the Good Little Witch, especially compared to Casper? So so she didn't really receive much recognition, and and I guess that is probably why they wanted to put her in this film to really just get her some more recognition and like have a crossover with Casper. And and I think like for a lot of people, this is really like how they first really did know about Wendy the Witch. I remember like it was the first time that I had ever heard of her, and and after like watch this movie, I did like find out that like Wendy the Witch was another one of like Harvey Comics characters, and yeah, and and Wendy is pretty much like she's kind of like the same way as Casper. Of course, like in her name, the Good Little Witch, like she does good rather than bad, similar to Casper, how he's friendly instead of mean. So so I guess like just with their characters being like very similar to each other, I guess it did kind of like make sense to have them like meet in this movie. Yeah, yeah, and and I do think that probably this is just probably like a little better than A Spirited Beginning, maybe because I mean it does at least have more of a story to it, and this film also does actually have a villain in it, and and it just seems to kind of just have like a better story than A Spirited Beginning did. Yeah, though, in this film, you really don't have any of the cast from A Spirited Beginning returning, other than like the voice actors for Casper and the Ghostly Trio. Yeah, Chris isn't in this movie, neither is his dad or Miss Fistograph or any of those characters. Yeah, they're not in this film. I'm not exactly sure why they didn't get any of the cast from A Spirited Beginning back for this film. I guess it's probably just because maybe like the kid that played Chris, they were unable to reach him, and since they couldn't get a hold of him, they decided not to bring back any of the characters from A Spirited Beginning, and they just really just went down a totally different route with this film. And just make it like a totally different story, and just have it be like with totally different characters. And this film doesn't even really acknowledge any of the events from A Spirited Beginning at all. So, it is kind of like odd that like for these three Casper films, they don't really share any connection with each other. I mean, I guess like with like The Spirited Beginning not really having any connection with the original did kind of make sense since it does take place before. But this one, why isn't there any sort of connection between this one and The Spirited Beginning? Like, why didn't they even mention any of the events from A Spirited Beginning at all? So that is something that I do question, but yeah, in this, but still with the film, I guess like for what the film does do, I guess it is like it does do it like decently enough, yeah, Yeah, I remember like watching this film quite a lot when I was a kid. Like I would watch it like on TV when it would come on, and I even like did rent it from the video stores like quite a few times, and even like did actually own the DVD at a point. So I did like this film well enough as a kid. I mean, I did like Spirited Beginning, and I did like this one too. Yeah, yeah, and this film it does have like a pretty decent cast. I mean, yeah, this was one of the few one of the first introductions to Hilary Duff. Yeah, in this film, Hilary Duff actually does play Wendy, and yeah, Hilary Duff is of course like really really young in here. Like she's probably like I don't know like around 10 years old. Yeah. So yeah, this was before like she did what she was like known for. Like this was obviously way before she did like stuff like Lizzie McGuire and stuff. Yeah, and I think Hilary Duff does do a pretty good job for what she has to work with as Wendy. Yeah, and yeah, of course, like everybody's gonna say that oh she's so cute in this, and yeah, she's cute and all. Yeah, and yeah, in this film you also do have cast members like Kathy Moriarty. Yeah, they had Kathy Moriarty in yet another Casper film, which I find interesting. Yeah, though yeah, she plays a different character in this one than she did in the original film. And you also have cast members like Shelley Duvall, Terry Garr, George Hamilton, Richard Mole. Well, yeah, and like I said, in this film you do still have like all the voice actors for like Casper and the Ghostly Trio from A Spirited Beginning back reprising their roles in this film. Yeah, you have a Jeremy Foley, uh, James Ward, Bill Farmer, and Jess Harnell all as Casper and the trio. Yeah, and with this film, something else this film does kind of do is it does make like some references to like other movies and stuff. And yeah, with a film like being meant for little kids, I do find that to be kind of strange because I really don't think like this movie's intended audience to really get a lot of the references that this film does make because they make like in the opening scene like it references Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and yeah, and like in this film like the villain for the film Desmond Spellman, he ends up like creating like two like henchmen that are named like Jules and Vincent, which is of course a reference to Pulp Fiction. And yeah, and they do kind of like make some other references to other films, and yeah, and just for the this film's intended audience, I really don't think that they would really understand a lot of the references, especially like with stuff like Pulp Fiction. Like Pulp Fiction is an R-rated film, so yeah, why are you making like references like that of an R-rated movie in a children's film? Yeah, that's something that is like kind of strange about it too. So yeah, this film really does make like some odd decisions and stuff. But yeah, for with the story and stuff, like with the friendship between Casper and Wendy and stuff, and like this film's this film's story, I do think they do a pretty decent job with it. Like as a kid, I did enjoy the friendship between Casper and Wendy. I did find it to be pretty sweet. Like it's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet kind of setup here, where like of course like Wendy has a family. Wendy's a witch, Casper's a ghost, and yeah, this film does like say that like ghosts and witches are enemies. So yeah, if Casper and Wendy are really supposed to hate each other, but yeah, they do end up becoming friends. But yeah, they're of course their families. Like Wendy lives with her aunts, and Casper, of course, the ghostly trio are his uncles. Yeah, they do like end up like really like being enemies throughout most of the film. But then yeah, in the end, like they do like make peace with each other and stuff. So yeah, it is kind of like a Romeo and Juliet type of setup here. Yeah, and in this film, like the villain, Desmond Spellman, who is a warlock, he like wants to destroy Wendy because yeah, his oracle in a mirror like tells him that like Wendy will someday surpass him as being the greatest witch ever. So yeah, Desmond like wants to avoid that. So yeah, he is like after Wendy tried to destroy her. So it's kind of similar to like the Terminator or films where like of course like Skynet wants to destroy John Connor so they can take over. Yeah, and yeah, that's kind of like a similar setup here where Desmond wanting to destroy Wendy to prevent her from surpassing him, being the greatest witch ever in the future. So yeah, so it is kind of similar to the Terminator films like that and stuff. So the film, it is like a little bit complicated. Like I think it could be like a little hard for kids to really follow this premise and stuff. And yeah, like I said, just for a lot of the references they make, I really don't think kids would really understand them and stuff. But yeah, like I said, like with it, as far as like the friendship between Casper and Wendy goes, and like this film's like set up like that, I do think that it does like a pretty decent job. And like I said, I did enjoy Casper and Wendy's friendship as a kid, and even now I still do find it to be pretty sweet with some of the stuff that goes on between the two of them. How Yeah, because the two of them really do have kind of like a similar lifestyles with like just being treated like a smug or scum from both of their families, and then yeah, and since they do have a lot in common, they do have a friendship with each other and stuff. So yeah, so I do find like the friendship between them to be pretty sweet. Yeah. So as far as his whether or not it would be recommending this film, I don't know. I mean, like I was saying about A Spirited Beginning, like if you really do like the original Casper film, then you're probably not going to like this film. But yeah, if you do like are curious to kind of like see something that's really like intended for like a younger audience, and you want to see like kind of like a sweet friendship and stuff with like what happens with Casper and Winnie in the film. And like if you are into like that kind of stuff, then you might get some enjoyment out of the film. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I do think that it probably is like a little bit stronger than A Spirited Beginning, since it does have more of a premise to it, and it does have a villain, and it just seems like a little bit more complete than A Spirited Beginning was. Yeah. So so if you are looking for something that seems to like be like more complete than Spirited Beginning was, if you were pretty disappointed with Spirited Beginning, if you want to see something that does seem like more of an improvement, then that probably will be what you can expect to get with this film. So so I would probably give the film probably like a 2 stars out of 4. So it is like alright, and stuff like it does still like have some cheap effects, and yeah, it does use a lot of puns once again, and and it can get like kind of silly, and especially when you do compare it to the original film. But yeah, like I said, it just seems a little bit more complete than A Spirited Beginning was. So I guess that is something to credit the film on. All right. So yeah, I don't want to really waste too much time on here. I don't really want to just ramble on like I did last time. So yeah, let me just get right into it. All right. So as the film opens up, like it shows that there's a baseball game going on, and then it shows that there's just a mysterious spaceship like floating down. And like I said, it's supposed to be a reference to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Like the spaceship is just like making a bunch of beeping noises, which is just a beat to the Casper theme song. Yeah. And then is eventually revealed to be the ghostly trio, and then everybody at the game with both the players and the crowd, let's end up freaking out and panicking, and they eventually run away, and they even when like Casper tries to settle the crowd, they just end up being scared of him too, and yeah, they just ended up like screaming and running away. Yeah. And then eventually like just the ghostly trio decide to plan a vacation. Yeah. And then it showed that there is a malevolent warlock named Desmond Spellman that believed himself to be like the greatest warlock in existence. But then he received a message from the Oracle in the Mirror, who's played by Pauly Shore. So I guess that's another returning actor from A Spirited Beginning. Yeah, Pauly Shore did voice Snivell in A Spirited Beginning, but yeah, in this film, he plays a different role. Yeah, Pauly Shore does play the Oracle in the Mirror. Yeah. And then, he told Desmond that in the future, Wendy the Good Little Witch will surpass him for being the greatest witch ever. So Desmond Spellman wanted to avoid that. And even like the Oracle also mentioned to Desmond that there was the mystic abyss which is like a dimensional rift that can destroy living beings upon entering. Yeah. So now Desmond then ended up creating like two spies, Jules and Vincent, which like I said is a reference to Pulp Fiction. Yeah, and they were played by Richard Mole and Vincent Schiavelli. Yeah, and yeah, Richard Mole also like returned for this film as well. Yeah, Richard Mole was also in A Spirited Beginning. He was the school principal in A Spirited Beginning, and here he returned to be in a different role. So yeah, so I guess there were like a few actors from A Spirited Beginning that did return for this, but yeah, they were playing different roles in this film. Yeah, and this film also did have like a lot of the crew that did work on Spirited Beginning come back for this one, including the director for A Spirited Beginning did like return to direct this one as well. So yeah, it didn't really have much of the cast from A Spirited Beginning, but yeah, it did have a few returning actors though in different roles, and yeah, a lot of the crew did return. So yeah, so I guess like it did like have some people that were involved with the Spirited Beginning back for this film. Yeah. And then yeah, but yeah, Desmond then like sent the two of them off to find Wendy and bring him back to her. Or bring her back to him. What? Yeah. And then it showed the whole like Wendy. And yeah, and as a film when we first see her, like it's shown that Wendy just really does not have any friends at all. And that morning she did like try to become friends with the paper boy. Now she tried to give the paperboy a present, but then yeah, it showed that Wendy's three aunts, Gert, Gabby, and Fanny, and like just were using magic to terrorize the paperboy and just scared him off. Yeah, and, yeah, and it showed that like Wendy's aunts just like are like pretty crummy to her and really just like treat her like scum a lot of the time. Yeah. Then yeah, after like Jules and Vincent then like came to their house and like tried to take Wendy away, they did end up escaping, and yeah, they all like escaped on their brooms, and yeah, and it showed that Wendy's broom like did have like a life of its own, like it was actually alive. You know, yeah. But yeah, when Jules and Vincent were there, they did end up mentioning Desmond Spellman, and yeah, and apparently, like Wendy's aunts did know who Desmond Spellman was. Yeah, but yeah, but Wendy didn't know who she was, and even like when she was asking who he was, her aunts just told her that he was trouble that she got them into, and it was her fault that they're in this predicament, which doesn't even make sense. Like, how is it her fault when she doesn't even know who Desmond Spellman is? So, yeah, movie doesn't really quite make sense with some of its plot lines like that. Yeah. But then it showed that well, Casper and the trio, as well as like Wendy and her aunts, like chose to vacation in the same resort hotel. And then after like Wendy and her aunts checked in, like they like changed their wardrobes to blend in with the other or people. So yeah, it showed them like changing from their witch outfits to just like normal casual clothes. Yeah, and it showed there that like there was another boy that like was trying to pick up on Wendy. Yeah, it was a kid named Josh who was played by Blake Foster, who also did play Justin in Power Rangers Turbo. So interesting to see him here. But yeah, this film was done by Saban, so yeah, I guess it was easy to get him to come along. Yeah, but then after Jules and Vincent return, and then it was shown that they failed to capture Wendy, Desmond then devised another plan. And then he showed like there was this radar device that he and it showed that it could track Wendy and her aunt whenever they use like some real high level magic. Yeah, and then later on is Wendy and her aunts were like redecorating the room with their magic. Then it showed that Desmond's radar picked up signal of them, but then Wendy's aunts could like sense it, and so they all then just hid down to like drop the strength of the signal. Then they realized that they really had to cut back on their magic and they couldn't really use any big high level magic anymore. Which included Wendy. So Wendy had to give up her magic wand that she had. Yeah. Yeah, and it also showed like they were pretty much ordering Wendy to just stay in the hotel room the entire time and not take any steps out. Yeah, yeah. Then later on, like Wendy then like did sneak out, and she then like tried to go back to that Josh kid to try to talk to him some more. But yeah, they were like just busy. Josh was busy with like with a friend of his, just playing in the arcade, and it showed they were even playing like the original Mortal Kombat. Like in that arcade, it actually did show that there was like the original Mortal Kombat that Josh and his friend were playing, and it also showed that Mortal Kombat 2 was in that arcade as well. Yeah. Then yeah, after like Josh gave Wendy the cold shoulder, then like Wendy just used some magic to unplug the arcade cabinet. Yeah, and then after just like Casper got like shamed by the trio again after they hurt his feelings. Yeah, the trio just ended up like upsetting Casper, and then we're just laughing at him. Yeah, Casper was just like so upset by that he just like went into like a nearby barn, and yeah, Wendy was in there also, and then yeah, they then eventually yeah they did end up like meeting each other. And at first they were frightened of each but then yeah, then they just like ended up like just seeing like the good in each other. Like Casper thought Wendy was cute, and then yeah, uh, Wendy saw that Casper was friendly, so yeah, they introduced themselves to each other, and then they saw that like they were pretty much in like pretty much the exact same positions with their families and stuff, and so yeah, they then like befriended each other, and then yeah, and just showed them the two of them just like spending time together having fun. And yeah, and I guess like something that I like wanted to talk about that I didn't mention in my Spirited Beginning review is Casper's voice in these two movies. Like, it's not really about like the voice in general, but it's just that in A Spirited Beginning in this movie, Casper's voice is deeper than it was in the original film. Like, if these films are like supposed to be set before the original film, shouldn't Casper have like a high voice like he did in the original film? Like, if this is taking place before, why is his voice deeper? So yeah, that's something I don't understand about these films either. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, getting back to this, yeah. And then later on, Casper and Wendy were just talking, saying that like they are supposed to be enemies, and if their families do find out that they're spending time with each other, they'll throw, yeah, they won't be happy about it, and they won't get to see each other anymore. But yeah, and then they just like knew that like if they could get like their families to talk with each other, they would get along. But yeah, they had to like come up with a plan to either like make Wendy's aunt ghosts or Casper's uncles humans. Yeah, and then they came up with a way on how they could actually get that done. Yeah, that night at the resort, there was a dance party going on, and then yeah, Casper then like just were telling his uncles that that their record for possession ended up being broken. So yeah, the trio of course was like wanted to regain their record, and so then yeah, Casper then like told them that they could try to do it at the dance that night. And so then, yeah, that night, like at the dance, the trio ended up possessing three guys that were going to the dance. Hands, yeah, and then yeah, then it showed like at the dance, like they were like just trying to pick up on people, and it also showed at one point the yeah a fatso was like the guy he was possessing was like in the like talking with like Ben Stein. So yeah, Ben Stein has yet another cameo in a Casper film. Yeah, but then yeah, then eventually they ended up flirting with Wendy's aunts that were also like just posing as normal women. Yeah, and yeah, it showed like that Wendy and Casper were just yeah spying on the whole thing, seeing how it was going, and yeah, and it was going very well. Then yeah, then at one point, then yeah, Casper then just asked Wendy to dance, and then yeah, it showed the two of them dancing in a gazebo, which was a pretty sweet moment. Yeah, but then yeah, then eventually, then yeah, the trio then just ended up like losing control of the possession, and then yeah, they then eventually just like couldn't then like handle it anymore, and yeah, they ended up like just coming out of the guys. Yeah, and then yeah, it was revealed they were ghosts, and then yeah, Wendy's aunt also revealed that they were witches. Just but then they ended up like scaring the trio off, to threaten them with some magic. But then then later on, like Wendy then just explained to Casper about Desmond Spellman being after them, and that like they can't use any high level magic, or else Desmond will be able to track them down. Yeah, but she was also like begging Casper not to tell like anybody about it, but just talk to his uncles to leave her and her aunts alone. Yeah, but then as Casper was then like talking to the trio to try to just stay away from the witches, just the trio then just like suspected Casper was protecting the witches, and then they were just like interrogating Casper about it, and then Casper then just ended up like accidentally blabbing that the witches couldn't use their powers. So then then the trio then just knew that they the witches couldn't do anything to them. So they ended up just like flushing Casper down the toilet to make sure he didn't interfere with anything. And then the ghost then went back to confront the witches, and then they said that they knew that the witches couldn't use magic. So they ended up like terrorizing Wendy and her aunts. But then eventually Wendy then just ended up grabbing her wand and then just used the high level spell on the trio and covered them in plaster. But then that alert that set off Desmond's uh, tracker for them. And so yeah, Desmond then he was able to track Wendy and her aunts down. But then during the celebration with Wendy and her aunts, Wendy like confessed that she used her wand, and then of course like Wendy and her aunts knew that they had to like leave and to run from Desmond. But then Casper then eventually he then after he like escaped the drain out of the sewer, he then like just tried to go to Wendy, but Wendy was just so distraught that Casper broke the promise stuff, and she just said that she didn't want to see him anymore, and just threw Casper out. And I should also say that like during like that celebration with Wendy and her aunts, like Josh ended up like sneaking in, and he ended up like stealing Wendy's wand. Yeah, and then as Wendy and her aunts were like leaving, like Wendy couldn't find her wand on, but it showed that Desmond had arrived at the resort, and they were trying to run from him, but eventually Desmond and his two goons ended up catching them. And then when Wendy asked Desmond what he wanted with her, Desmond then was explaining in the situation that about Oracle's prediction. And then Casper then like arrived, and he tried to stop Desmond from doing what he was doing to the witches. Then Casper was on his own here. He tried to like convince the trio to help him after he told them about Desmond, but the ghost. The trio then just like refused to help, but Casper did remind them that they showed that they could get along with the witches if they put their differences aside due to like how they were at the party. But the trio still initially like refused. And so Casper was on his own confronting Desmond here. But Desmond then just used his powers to blast Casper back. And then Casper then like went to retrieve Wendy's wand, and then he ended up like scaring Josh and his friend, and then the wand ended up falling down and turned them into horses. And then Casper then arrived back with the wand, and then Jules and Vincent tried to go after Casper, and Desmond also tried to blast Casper more, and then eventually he did hit Casper, and then Casper ended up dropping the wand and ended up falling down to the ground. And then Wendy then did eventually get her wand back, and then she tried using magic on Desmond, but the wand had no effect on Desmond because he was so much more powerful. And then Desmond then and like ended up opening up the mystic abyss, and then after like Wendy's failed attempt with the wand, then Desmond then just used his magic to just throw Wendy into the mystic abyss. But then Casper then like just grabbed one of those rope divider things, like you know what I'm talking about, the ones that like hook on to like the poles and stuff. And then he like went in to save Wendy. Then as Desmond was like attempting to seal the abyss back up, Wendy's aunts then eventually were able to take out Jules and Vincent. Then they tried to use their combined magic to stop Desmond, but that still had no effect on Desmond. And Desmond was about to turn Wendy's aunt's into fertilizer. But then, then a giant three-eyed monster then appeared and then ended up like scaring Desmond. And then, then Wendy's broom ended up tripping Desmond, and he ended up falling into the abyss to his doom. Yeah. And then it was revealed that the monster was the ghostly trio. Yeah. Then the ghostly trio then was like holding the abyss open while the Wendy's ants were and pulled Casper and Wendy out, and then they're eventually able to get Wendy and Casper out, and the abyss sealed up. Yeah. And then Casper and Wendy were just like knocked unconscious after being pulled out. But when the witches and the trio then were comforting and Casper and Wendy to treat them, and then they eventually ended up coming to, and then they all reunite with each other, and then the witches ended up thanking the trio, and the trio also said that they enjoyed getting to know them. Yeah. And then the Oracle then proclaimed Wendy as the greatest witch, which now that Desmond was gone, and she did something no other witch ever could, which was befriend a ghost. Yeah. 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 Then later on, Wendy and her aunts then were set to leave, and then Casper and Wendy said goodbye to each other, and and then they did also assure each other that they would meet again soon, and Wendy and then Casper goodbye, and then they all flew off. And then it showed now that the trio was also carrying the luggage for Casper, and then they all ended up flying off, and it just ended with Casper saying so long to the resort, and it's been real friendly, and then Casper just winked to the camera and flew off, and then that's how it ended. So so considering how they did do that tease that Casper and Wendy would met again, I really would have liked to have seen a sequel, see more of them together, but that never ended up happening, so that's unfortunate. But as far as this film goes, I mean, I did enjoy it as a kid, and even now, I mean, I still do see the stuff that it does do. It does do it pretty decently. Like I said, there's more of a story to this than Spirited Beginning was. And they do give it a full-on villain. Like in The Spirited Beginning, I didn't really see Kibosh as to be a true villain, seeing as how he did allow Casper and the trio to stay together, and he didn't take them away or anything and stuff. And even with the original film, Kerrigan was kind of a villain, but there really wasn't all that much of her in here. But here, Desmond is really a true on villain, and he is really trying to really get rid of Wendy and all this other stuff. So I think that probably is something that this film really does do the best out of the three, is the villain and stuff. And like I said, it just seems more complete than A Spirited Beginning did with the stuff that I just mentioned. So like I said, if you are once again, if you really do like the original Casper film, this probably isn't going to be a film that you would get much enjoyment out of. But if you are into the stuff that this film does, with the friendship with Casper and Wendy and some of the other stuff that it does, I think you could get enjoyment out of it. And plus, even if you didn't like A Spirited Beginning, and if you're curious to check this film out, I think you will get a little more enjoyment out of it, because it just is a little more complete. So so like I said, 2 stars out of 4. All right. So so I guess that's all I can really say about it. So so this was my review of Casper Meets Wendy. So I hope you guys did enjoy this review, and but up next I'm going to be talking some more about ghosts. For my last 2 reviews, I'm going to be talking about other ghost movies. It's just I'm going to be talking about some more ghosts. But let's just say that for these films, don't be afraid of no ghosts. So I ain't afraid of no ghosts. So I'm going to be reviewing those movies to close out these reviews. So stay tuned for those reviews coming up next. All right, but I hope you guys did enjoy this review. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.